So, what do you do when you start a new piece? Usually by book 3, we're definitely reading. So, you could read it. But we've, of course, learned in the Suzuki method to always start by listening. So, I'd suggest listening to the CD. And then I would suggest listening to the CD again. Are you catching my drift? So listening to the CD is your number one way of learning the piece really quickly. It's your number one way of reviewing the piece. And listening to the CD has to happen before, during, and after you've learned the piece. You might want to listen to other recordings on YouTube if you want kind of a comparative listening, like you want to hear different people, how they do different things. And then you pick the best things and make it your own, okay? What I tell my students is that beyond listening to the CD, which should be a given, and beyond being able to read the notes, there is so much that needs to happen before we play even a single note. There's so many things that could warm our brain up to that piece. So one of the things that we can do is, and most of our issues lie with rhythm, believe it or not the notes, the rhythm. So really knowing the rhythm, tapping, clapping, speaking the rhythm, that's all going to be really helpful. Secondly, we need to know the notes. Some of the fun games that I play with students is we learn to kind of speed read notes. So we just speak them. Like I'm looking at minuet in G minor, and I would say Bess A G A D D G G A B Bess C D, right? I would say them as fast as I possibly could. And you won't imagine the amount of giggles that happens over this. I mean, it's so much fun to do. And I look for patterns. That's the third thing I look for. Are there any patterns that I can just like chunk, right? Chunking is like, I don't know if you like chocolate chip cookies, but I like the ones with the really big chunks. And the really big chunks are like, in music, are kind of like scales or arpeggios, right? Or maybe it's a chord progression, right? Or maybe it's intervals, right? These are all things that once we learn them, and this is why we learn them, we can immediately chunk them together. And a chocolate chip cookie with lots of chunks all of a sudden doesn't seem like too much cookie left to learn, right? I don't know about you, but I like chocolate chunk cookies. And I like the same way when I'm looking at a piece. Like this minuet in G minor has some very, very common rhythm patterns. It has ta, ta, ta for right hand. It has ta, ti, 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 right? Really important when we do the rhythm that we keep a steady beat with it. Let me see if there are any other ones. I think that's most of the rhythms in the whole piece. Oh, we've got T, 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 T. We've got ta, ti, ti, ta. So students love, it's like, they're a detective. They love to find out all the little pattern searching, right? You can turn it into like find 10 things sort of game, right? And then the last thing is you need to use your imagination. When you look at the music, before you even play a note, what do you think it's going to sound like? Of course, if you've listened to the CD, you've got a one-up. But if it's a piece you've never seen before, try to imagine the sound. Try to imagine or say the letter names in the rhythm. Try to imagine whether it sounds like it would be skipping or stepping, or if there's a rhythm between the hands. What would that feel like? Would it be, right? Do all those things, because those are going to be the difference between spending weeks learning the piece or just days, or maybe even just hours. It's a big, huge difference. And these are things that students skip all the time. They rush right to playing hands alone or hands together. So that's one of my best tips for sight reading and learning a new piece. Listen to your CD. Listen, 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 or listen to recordings. Look at the music, speed write or speed read the notes. Try to then read the notes in rhythm. Look for patterns, chunk as much as you can, look for chunks. And then finally, imagine what it will sound like in your head. If you've had some solfege or do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do training, it will be easier. And just like anything, you just have to practice it. Happy practicing.